I'm going to pull 38. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 30, 33, 34, 35, 36, 38, and 50. Any others? 48. All right. All right, can I get a motion for the remainder? Motion by Nell, second by Hall. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? I'm going to pop down to the appointments 8 through I. Can I get a motion for those? Motion by Tammy Rich Dixon, second by Sam Goddard.
I'm going to
Abstain from yours, so just from your appointment, okay. And Crail?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be abstaining with regard to my appointment.
Okay. Roy, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. So everybody who's being appointed is abstaining from their appointment. Otherwise, we're good to go. So all those in favor of the appointment signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, I'm just going to pause here a second. Unless we can just continue to do business, are you okay with that? Sure. Okay. All right, that brings us back to our agenda. Item 1, LU 2301 was pulled. Can I get a motion to get this on the motion by Josting, second by Harris. Mike, I think you pulled this?
Yeah, just a clarification. This is just on the moratorium, right?
Just on the moratorium.
The 4 months.
Jackie? On item 1, is this just a moratorium?
It is, yes.
Okay.
That's the only question.
All right, any other questions? Yes, Nick.
So this one, if I'm correct, extends the moratorium by 4 months?
Correct.
My question is, and involves number 2 as well, how does the new legislation affect what we're doing here tonight at all? Does it make it all moot? I guess that's the question I have is, are we doing this really for nothing?
Bill?
Mr. Chairman, I have a few comments prepared, and this is the reason that I pulled one of the items. Our motion to condemn the really stupid law passed recently by the General Assembly. And you'll notice I didn't have any curse words in there. I'm being very restrained.
We're on Facebook,
So I could address that now, but that's the reason I pulled that item, was to address it at that time. The short answer is, what we're doing isn't completely moot. They still gave us a little bit of authority so that we feel like we're doing something, but they took away any meaningful authority.
All right. All those in favor of this signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. LU 2302. Get this on the floor. Motion by Harris. Second by Mennel.
I called it. Again, this is just a clarification.
Okay.
This is just to change a process for the board to read. Some issues will come to the board, and we put a dollar amount for people applying for permits. And what was the third thing?
Yeah, please use your microphone line of this.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Greg.
So there's about 4 different things in this amendment. One that I didn't want to get kicked out altogether was allow the zoning department to give permitted uses to outbuildings in certain areas that they frankly pass almost all the time anyhow, but they have to give Jackie's office to do that. The other ones was to add the ability for the county board to vote on special uses on wind, solar, and she added adult adult use that if you vote on those 2. We haven't voted on these in a long time, so again, it allows us to use the information given by the ZBA to make votes in the county board. So another thing was for all these other 3 areas to go from 15-day to 45-day notice to allow people to get legal representation. That was brought out, and that was difficult to do, just knowing 2 weeks ahead that how am I going to get a lawyer to defend me, so that 45 days was brought in for that. And then the other was a fee for service. If it costs the county to do it, the cost incurred there, they're supposed to put in money to cover that. And it allows the zoning department some latitude on the size, depending on how much, but it's capped at, it's written as 50, but if there's more cost, it's capped at $100,000 to do anything like extra things. If it's not spent 45 days after the county board votes on it, any amount not spent, any interest not spent will be returned to the petitioner if we did not need it for extra costs. So those are the 4 things, highlights of this amendment.
All right, so it doesn't affect the ordinances at all. Well, that's good. I like what's being presented, that it doesn't affect the ordinances.
Right.
And then a question that Greg was gonna ask, this only applies to the companies that apply for a permit to build something or a use in the county, correct? It doesn't apply for anybody that wants to oppose it or whatever.
Yes, it's for the petitioner
Right.
I just want to be sure if, let's use the example of United Citizens. Would they have to put up $50,000 to do what they did?
No.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. By the way, I was remiss to point out former member Carol Emmett who joined us tonight, so I know he's trying to get a new per diem, but he's not going to get it. So, anyway, good to see you, Carolyn. All right, so we are combining items 30 and 33. Can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Atkins, seconded by Schneider. Bill, can you kind of explain how we can merge these?
And the reason that it's appropriate to merge these is actually, item 30 includes with it, it's my understanding from talking to Mike, that it includes with it a contract that has been revised to include the item in 33. 33 had to be a separate item under our rules and Open Meetings Act, I think, in order to make sure we were complying with it. But that doesn't mean we have to vote on them separately, since item 30 includes everything in item 33 with the amendment to the contract.
Any other questions on that? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I make a motion for item 34 to get it on the floor. Motion by Crail, second by Sam Goddard. Roy, you pulled this?
Need some clarification. Obviously, I think the point, I'm in favor of actually creating this position, but I needed some clarity on if this is going to be a graded individual and what that grade is going to be and what was the range and salary that we're going to offer on that.
Yes, this position was previously graded in that same grade as staying on there at grade 17. The salary range for grade 17 is grade 17 ranges from $59,124 at the entry level, $73,866 at the midpoint, and max at $88,627.
Mike?
I had a question on the job description. I should have asked it in HR. We have challenged other departments about layers of supervision over a small number of people. And this person is to supervise 2 people, and the person above this person is a supervisor of those 2 people. So, and then it goes to Mike. We basically have 3 people with supervising the 2 at the level. And don't know if both job descriptions of this person and the,
Talking about IT, Mike, or are you talking about that?
this is, I'm way off, I'm sorry, I'm on the.
Okay.
I support this all the way.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Item 35, can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Atkins, second by Graff. Just process-wise, Mark, I think you wanted to make a motion then to table this? Okay, so there's a motion to table. Is there a second?
I second that.
Actually,
I'm sorry.
point of order,
Yes.
Mr. Goddard was saying until next month. I think if we're looking at putting it to a specific date, the better motion would be a motion to defer to the February meeting.
Okay.
That way, it clearly will be a part of the agenda. There's an issue with tabling that we can't just take it off the table unless it's on the agenda because of the Open Meetings Act. So that's just to make sure it gets onto the agenda. I think that's the better motion.
You okay with that, Mark?
I agree, yes.
Okay, motion to defer, second by Paget. This is on the amendment to defer it for a month?
The deferral date, which is identified as next month's third meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All those in favor of deferring signify? Yes, oh yeah, go ahead, Mike. I don't know if there's debate on a deferral motion.
I'd like to know why we want to defer it.
Can you use your microphone too?
I'm sorry.
No, that's you good.
Yeah, I think it's kind of this is the definition of growing government. It's not building a building or a parking lot or something that we need to use, but adding someone in that we didn't have last year or last month or last week. So as long as this meeting is and has been and is going to be, we shouldn't give this matter short shrift. If we vote on it and approve it, with all due respect to the HR department or the HR committee, I think it would be kind of high-handed without a little more thought. And this will give us a little time and to maybe think of some other things to go along with as a contract or something like that.
Nancy?
Well, with all due respect to the fact that we do have several new board members, I can certainly understand it. This was brought up in the fall a couple of times, and finally, I think in our November board meeting, it was discussed and tabled until, am I in the right month now? Yeah, not tabled to now. I think discussing it, we can continue discussing it, but we know that there's been a big need for this particular position because of not having an administrator for a period of time and the disarray that we had for almost a year trying to catch back up. I'll be glad to support tabling it for another month, but it's something that we cannot forget. We do need some help. We need somebody else. We need a serious system of progression, and this would allow for that. Thank you.
Hey. Yeah, Sam.
Mr. Chairman, if we were to defer this, would it go back to the HR committee to be
Come back to
put back to the county board? Okay. I agree. Deferring this, all of the titles all of the responsibilities that are listed here are already done by most of our elected officials, and I don't think that this is needed. Anyway, I agree with the deferral.
Mike?
I'm going to support passing the motion tonight. I'm going to vote against the deferral.
Okay. Bill?
I didn't interrupt the debate earlier when I finally found that it actually is a debatable motion.
Okay, good.
But I wanted to point out that I am also in favor of deferral of this and the next item.
Right?
I think we need to move forward with this. We've needed this position for years, and I'm gonna vote, I'm in favor of the original
Okay. Nick?
Mr. Goddard, what do you hope? I guess I don't have a problem deferring it, but I want to have an understanding of what's going to happen between now and the next board meeting that's going to change from tonight. I guess I'm having struggling with that.
Well, I guess what the natural progression would be is people will meet and talk and discuss it, and I'm going to try to convince people that we don't need to add more government. We don't need more bureaucracy. We know that. The biggest problem with Illinois is people are leaving. In fact, I heard one newscaster say people are fleeing Illinois. We have the highest taxes and regulations, or I think we're number 3 in the United States of America. Let's not add more bureaucracy to Tazewell County. These jobs are covered, in my opinion, on 1 of 20. I'm just asking, we didn't need them last year, last week, last month. We'll be okay till the 28th.
I understand your position, but how is that going to change in a month?
Well, I hope maybe some people will think about it. Like I say, now we're debating it, and I was hoping we wouldn't give it short shrift, that we would give it a little bit more debate, and I guess we can, and we are. So.
Yeah, respectfully, I'm a new board member. Obviously, I'm not caught up with what you've discussed in the past. For me, the month in preparation, as a matter of fact, I'm noticing that you've changed the position name from what it was originally, and so now I need some clarification on what's going on with that and what we're thinking, and I need some time to study this. So respectfully, I would like to defer this for 1 month, and I agree with Tammy that we shouldn't go beyond that month, but it's not going to bring the foundation down for another 30 days for this position. It's self-managed pretty well, and I think 1 month is not going to make a difference.
So Tammy wasn't talking on this issue, so. Any other questions, Max?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, the motion before, the resolution before this, 34, can I ask how that vote went? Was that a unanimous vote?
Yes.
Okay. That vote there created a new position in Tazewell County government. And we're talking about not trying to expand the government with the position in this resolution. But everybody voted for 34. Where was this debate last resolution?
I believe that the IT position is needed, whereas the positions in our finance department that was created in 2013 are not needed. Everything's going more toward tech, right? We can get rid of a lot of tasks and convert them to, Skype or whatever. But we're trending that way as a society, where that's a need, whereas these 2 positions here are not needs.
I agree with you on that part. I just don't agree on I don't want to grow government, but I will vote to grow positions that grow the government and then support positions I don't like.
All right.
And claim not to grow the government.
Okay, other questions? Greg? Okay.
One other thing, Chairman, that I understand what Max is saying, and when I talked to people in Tazewell County, I never mentioned the IT position because I guess I automatically thought that was kind of something that we needed. But when I mentioned creating other positions, creating an IT position I think is different than creating another administration. That IT worker is going to be a worker, not an administrator. That's my point. And I just think we need to have a little discussion on it.
All right. So the motion on the floor is to defer this until next month. A no vote, it won't be deferred. We'll deal with it tonight. A yes, we'll take it to next month. John, can you call the roll?
Atkins.
Yes.
Crawford. Mark Goddard.
Yes.
Sam Goddard.
Yes.
Graff.
Yes.
Agnew.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Harris.
No.
Josting.
No.
Grable.
No.
Longfellow.
No.
Mennel. Mingus. Nelms.
Yes.
Pageant.
Yes.
Prayer.
No.
Rich Simpson.
No.
Schneider.
No.
Sin.
No.
Smith.
Yes.
It's a tie vote. It's the second time I've had to do this in 14 years.
Chairman Zimmerman.
And I'm voting no.
Motion fails.
So we're back to the motion. Any more discussion on the creation of this position?
Yes.
No.
I'm opposed. In light of the current economic environment, there's also concern in our community to whether it is prudent to be spending large amounts of money and if these positions are really necessary at this time. My personal concern is not who's awarded these high-paying jobs, but I agree with the county taxpayers that the timing and necessity are indeed questionable. Based on my calculations, the proposal would result in the top 3 positions of the new administrative government, totaling approximately $308,000 per year, plus an additional $80,000 to support staff for a total of $388K for my calculations. Now, this is in a county where the average individual taxpayer median income is $35,587 per year, with 0 benefits and no insurance. That source is the United States Census Bureau and the Federal Reserve Bank in St. Louis. The history of Tazewell County Empire Building. 10 years ago, we can look at the administrative office consisted of a county administrator and an auditor with 2 support staff, and they appeared to operate efficiently. Then the county board created a finance director position, assigned the 2 support staff to that office, and removed the tasks that were held by the auditor. Now, it is interesting to note that the county board then had to reverse itself and keep the auditor as a result of voters utilizing their voice to retain that position. Moving forward, the board then allowed for HR director position to join the county administrator and finance director, the auditor, and still retain the 2 support staff employees. Now, the current county board will move to create a new administrative government by adding to their empire a new assistant county administrator / finance director, and for whatever reason, create an assistant finance director, which is the change that appears to be from the original intent. The population of Tazewell County has dropped 3.7% since 2010 and to 2020. Again, that source is the United States Census Bureau and the Federal Reserve Bank in St. Louis. We cannot continue to live on the backs of taxpayers. We cannot keep growing government. We must be mindful of our constitutional elected officials, whose duties and responsibilities should never be compromised by imposing authority at the administrative level. The constitutional elected officials and their staff are the difference makers that allow Tazewell to work efficiently for the taxpayers, particularly during these economic difficult times. As elected board members who have taken an oath to serve the public interest and protect the public coffers, it is our collective duty to eradicate favoritism and misuse of public funds. Now, for those that don't know what administrative government is, I'll go ahead and give you the definition of that. It's where the elected leader creates more and more unelected government positions, which take an ever-increasing role in the day-to-day governance. There's little oversight, transparency, or incentive to minimize the costs they impose on tax-paying citizens, and less of a voice in our government process. Administrative government is not healthy for any governing body and conflicts with both the Constitution and our statutory county township organization. My feeling is if we've got to go down this path, I would move that since we have an administrator, Mike B., who is contracted for 3 years and that is beneficial because we don't have to now get into discussion of grading. That if we move to do this, I'm probably in favor to vote for it if we allow the assistant administrator to be contracted. It's very odd, particularly in the corporate world, which is where I work, to have an administrator contracted and then bring in a subordinate that is a permanent position. This is very awkward. It's not done, and I'm really not sure what the thinking is here. But I would be more inclined to go along with it as long as we made it a contract position. But of course, Mr. Parliamentarian, that would now involve getting our SA involved with contract. How would that do? What's the mechanism if we do that?
Mr. Patchett and I discussed this ahead of time, and I believe you're wanting to move to amend this resolution to make the position a contractual position, but that would require that a contract be prepared, which the State's Attorney's Office would have to help us with. So I believe it would be in order to move to amend that the position be a contractual position rather than a graded position, with the contract to be prepared, mutually acceptable to the county board and to the individual occupying the position.
Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian.
Mr. Chairman, I call for the question.
Are you making a motion?
My motion was the table, but that's not going to be the case. So now the motion is, if we're going to have this discussion, I motion that we amend the proposal and now make this a contract in line with the current administrator's current contract. That would be more logical, because the way we have it proposed is very illogical.
So what's your objective? Your amendment is what?
Is to move to, if you want if you want me to vote in favor of going in this direction, I'm asking that we move to make this position a contract position.
So we have a motion to make this a contract. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Graff. All those in favor of making this contract signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Would the ayes, please? Ayes. Who are the noes? No votes. Harris, Christensen,
Those.
Snyder, Middle, Crable, Sims, Christensen, I had. Anybody that I missed? I'll now read them off again. Harris, Crable.
Mr. Chairman, Jimmy, your roll call.
Thank you. Sorry. Atkins.
So if you vote yes, it's to make this contractual. If you vote no, yeah, back to the original. Mike D would like to say something.
It would say that the process I chose is the standard for government. It is usually the administrator that would be contracted by the board, and then the responsibility of me to then hire the direct reports underneath me. So I would say that I haven't heard of any other counties that do have a type of situation as you described. McLean County and some other neighboring counties have assistant county administrators, and those individuals are all hired by the county administrator.
Yeah, I just want to add that I'm trying to do this in an effort of compromise. It's not the cleanest way. We're growing an administrative government. I would like to add that we have the treasurer in the building tonight, Hannah Clark. Ms. Clark, I just got to ask the question.
So all questions need to be directed to the chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. I would like to point out that we already have structure in place. We have a treasurer who constitutionally, she is not only just the treasurer, she's the chief finance officer, the chief investment officer, the banker, the collector. I mean, these are titles that are constitutional. So please understand, we have a mechanism in place, and I would venture to say that receivables, Ms. Clark could be ready to go with receivables tomorrow, and we can eliminate the second position that we pulled, which is the Assistant Finance Director position. So please understand, the mechanisms of government are already here, and it sits with our treasurer, who is bestowed with some amazing titles. That's why
the motion on the table is to make this contractual.
That's correct. And so a yes vote is going to allow us to move in the spirit of compromise.
So, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just wanted to make clear, this is technically a motion to amend to make the main motion for a contractual position. We will still need to take a second vote. If this is amended, we'll have to take a second vote on the motion as amended.
Say that again, Bill.
The motion currently is to amend the resolution to make this a contractual position.
Correct.
So if this vote passes, then we will have the resolution with that change that it will be a contractual position. That will be before us to vote yes or no on.
Right.
So there will still be another vote regardless of what happens with this.
Right. Any questions on the amendment? Yeah, team?
So what's the grade if it's not contractual? Or hasn't been determined, but it'd be graded?
No.
I don't know if we grade our contractual employees.
But if it's not,
Oh.
because it's not presented that way, right?
Right.
So it's fine. Okay, that's what I was.
Okay. Yes.
Respectfully, by doing this, we can save a lot of time in talking about grade, which is going to be very contentious. If we can contract, we can avoid the grade discussion, and we can move forward in a productive way in the spirit of compromise. Thank you.
Certainly up to the direction of the board, from my perspective, I believe this would potentially make it harder to recruit, since this isn't the standard process done by government. You have more of that consistency with having an actual person hired as an actual employee versus a contractual. So that would be my long-term concern also with this.
I think part of our goal here too would be to promote within, and I don't know if the contractual portion encourages that. So,
Chairman, I have a question about the motion.
yes.
Based upon what you said, Mike, so if this is not a contractual position, it's strictly an at-will position, and if you left, that person could stay, might be hired to replace you, or might be terminated by the new person, is that correct?
That is correct. There would be typically other stipulations also in the contract, such as mine, where you have severance pay, which an at-will employee wanted. On a contractual basis, you would likely need to add some kind of language to that effect.
Mark?
I think I agree with Mike. I'm not sure a contract is that great, but we do need to, maybe to compromise on one on 2303. We're not creating that position for assistant finance director. If these are redundant, which that's my understanding, a little bit redundant, and we just hired the finance director, the assistant administrator, finance director. How can we do that? Would that be acceptable to anybody or not?
I mean, we could talk about that when we get to 36. Yeah.
Call for a question.
Question's been called for. All those in favor of calling on the amendment? All those in favor of calling for the question on the amendment signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Question's been called. This is a roll call. A yes vote is to make it contractual. A no vote would be the regular process. John?
Crawford. Mark Goddard. Scott Goddard. Sam Goddard, sorry. Graham.
No.
Agnew.
Yes.
Hall.
No.
Harris.
No.
Joseph. Crable.
No.
Longfellow. Mennel. Mingus. Nelms. Pageant.
Yes.
Frail.
No.
Rich Simpson. Schneider.
No.
Sen. Smith.
No.
Atkins.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4 yeses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So the amendment is defeated back to the original position. Any more questions on the original position? Yes.
The original position, it appears that there's a finance director accompanying the assistant administrator position. Is that what I'm seeing?
If you're looking at the job description, the language in black is the existing language for the finance director right now. The language in red is the updated language that would be voted on here. So there would be adding duties to an existing position. This would not be creating or adding any new positions, only giving this position additional responsibilities as it relates to being able to assist me on administrative functions and handling the workload within administrative office, while still also having many of the functions and responsibilities as finance director.
Okay, and can I ask you a personal question regarding as a county administrator, when you were hired, at what point did you realize?
You know, I'll answer that question. We've been talking about an assistant county administrator for years. And it was just, the point was driven home when Wendy left, the need for that, so.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna do a roll call. Yes is to create this, or reclassify this finance director.
I have a question.
And a no is to not do this. Do a roll call. Jim?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Robert's rules, you're allowed to speak twice on an issue, and
I don't understand the vote. A point of order, I'd like to ask the parliamentarian what we're voting for.
It's on the agenda.
At this point, we would be voting, it's my understanding, on the main motion. All of the subsidiary motions have failed at this point, I believe. So this is approving the reclassification of the finance director position to assistant county administrator / finance director. And this would be on the motion as it was first presented, not on any amended classification or contract that we had discussed previously.
Okay, a yes vote then means yes.
So a yes vote would be to allow the position to be reclassified to assistant county administrator / finance director.
Okay, John, roll call.
Mark Goddard.
No.
Sam Goddard.
No.
Graff.
Yes.
Agnew.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Joseph.
Yes.
Crable.
Yes.
Longfellow.
Yes.
Mennel.
Yes.
Mingus. Nelms.
Yes.
Pageant.
No.
Frail.
20 seconds to go on the first half, I actually moved 36.
Yes.
My answer is yes.
Rich Simpson.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Smith.
No.
Atkins.
Yes.
Crawford. Motion passes.
Motion passes. All right. Item 36, can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Schneider, second by Sam Goddard. So this is to approve the creation of assistant finance director. Mark, you want to make a motion to defer this, or?
Yes, I would like.
Okay. A motion to defer till next meeting? Okay?
I have a question. I can support the deferral. I have a question on the job description, which I started out before was wrong on the other job. We have 3 layers of supervision on the 2 people. If we took it out of this position, would there be changes, or do we need to leave it in? That's the question I have.
Sure. So the way the finance office would be structured would be the newly created assistant county administrator, finance director position would lead the office. This would create the assistant finance director position. that would be able to assist with many of the functions of the finance director role, as well as taking over the process if need be. This person would then also help oversee the 2 employees. So there would be a finance director, an assistant finance director that would have many of the administrative roles and be able to have the knowledge and competency to be able to work with the financial related matters throughout the organization, and then just the 2 employees.
Okay, so we have a motion. Yeah.
Did we have a second?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So we have a motion to defer. Is there a second?
I will second, and I would ask Mr. Goddard if he would agree to the motion being to defer until April.
All right.
And I can speak to that if Mr. Goddard will indulge me.
Yes.
Okay.
The reason I want to defer this until April, frankly, although I voted in favor of the Assistant County Administrator Finance Director position, and I do believe we need that, I'm not sure I believe we need this Assistant Finance Director position. And if the position is necessary because of the reclassification, that will give us 3 months of experience where our administrator will be able to come to us and say, here is why we need this position. And if we give just 30 days, I don't know that he would be able to have sufficient data. Frankly, I think in April, he's still not gonna have sufficient data to convince most of us, but maybe he will. I'll keep an open mind about it, and I wanna give him a fair chance. If we have to decide this tonight, I'm a no vote. So that's why I'm asking to defer it until the April meeting.
Point of clarification. Are you deferring to the April County Board meeting, or are
Yes.
you deferring to the April committee meetings?
The April County Board meeting, this is in front of the board.
County Board. That's what I want to check. I'm
So
sorry.
I don't want to refer it back to a committee. I want to defer it to a.
Okay, with that, Mark, until April. Okay. All right. Questions? Nick, you have a question?
Yes, and I was thinking about deferring it too, but I would like to see it's deferred. I would like to see it go back to the committee. I think we're starting down a dangerous path where we're doing all the committee work on the board floor, and I don't think that's appropriate. I have some questions about the grade of this that I negligently didn't bring up at the committee meeting, that knowing what I know now probably would. So I agree that it's probably a good thing to defer this, but I'd like to keep our committee structure strong and let the committees do the work so we don't have 2-hour meetings at the county board. We have regular meetings. So I don't know quite how to, I can't amend an amendment, but would you? Well, I don't want to confuse it worse than anything. I guess, Mr. Atkins and Mr. Goddard, would you consider referring this back to the HR committee?
I think that would be the proper way to do it.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with that.
So we have a motion and a second to send it back to the HR committee. Any questions on that? Greg?
I'm against this. If we defer this, we've done nothing tonight. We don't have, except we've raised the pay of the fire. I mean, we haven't helped ourselves a bit. You know, 2010 was brought up in a point here a while back. We're not in 2010. In 2010, we had an auditor with people. We had a county clerk, and they did the bulk of the budget. That is not how we do it today. And we need this position so we can do business. We can't depend on a county clerk and an auditor to do our budget. They're not, anybody can get elected to them positions. There's no credentials needed. I can get elected because I got the most votes. I am not qualified to do a budget or to do what this job qualification is. And I think in the end, I just don't understand. I think there's a lot of people that don't understand how county government works. And we need
Do we have a motion and a second? Yeah, right.
Yeah, and Greg, I'm sorry when I presented that history and bringing that up, but the thought, and this is where I'm confused with the title and this position that we just approved. I would have liked to have seen budget manager, not finance director, because that would be going in line with what you're talking about, Greg, if I'm hearing you right. Only because if we eventually get to pull accounts receivables and put them elsewhere with the 2 staff members, then it would be more in line as a budget manager. But we didn't do that, and so here we are. I'm in favor of putting this in April and moving forward so that we can see where the bumps in the road might be. I think we know where they're going to be. I think your point is well taken, Greg, and this is why a budget manager type thing would be more appropriate. But I'll let the committee work on that, Nick, and we'll see what you guys come up with.
So the motion is not April, it's to send it back to committee. Committee can settle on this first.
Right. That's what I would think would be, but maybe looking at a revision in title to address Greg's concerns.
So the motion is to send it back to HR. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? You ready? In the nose, raise your hand. Okay, the Assistant Finance Director has been sent back to HR Committee. Moving on, E2311, can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Graff, second by Longfellow. I pulled this one just because it's with regrets. Wayne Alfier was a very good board member, and he did his homework, asked questions, and I hope he'll be back one of these days. So all those in favor of accepting this resignation signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Item 48, can I get a motion for E2323, motion by Rich Simpson, second by Sam Goddard. I'm not sure who pulled this. Oh, Bill, go ahead.
I pulled this one because I think that it is important that we all understand what the General Assembly has done. And as I said earlier, I took the curse words out in talking about this, but condemning it really is probably too light a term. And so I wanted to tell everyone the ways in which, not the specifics of the entire act, but the ways in which they have limited our authority, our supposed still retained authority. So the General Assembly has said that we can, and in fact we are the ones to regulate wind energy facilities. However, they have limited the way in which we can do setbacks, and they have different categories upon which we can regulate setbacks, saying occupied community buildings, participating residences, non-participating residences. Of course, none of you remember participating residences or non-participating residences as part of our ordinance because we didn't have that. But apparently now, if we want to regulate the way that the General Assembly thinks we should, that's something that we're going to need to add into our ordinance. And by the way, they set the maximum on what our restrictions can be. We can't do anything beyond what they say. We can regulate up to what they say. Additionally, they have said that the flicker requirements, that it is the maximum we can do is that there is not more than 30 hours per year of shadow flicker. You might all remember that that was a major issue for United Citizens when they came to speak to us. So now you know that's the maximum we can do, which is actually, I think, well below the restriction that was requested by United Citizens. So we get to tell them, no, we're not going to do that for you because the General Assembly has taken away our ability to do that. Additionally, they have said that sound limitation. we are allowed to set sound limitations of exactly what the limitation is under state law. So we cannot go beyond the state law limitations as the United Citizens asked us to. We can do exactly the same. And if we were to go under, it wouldn't really matter because the state limitation is right there. So basically they've taken away any authority whatsoever that we have with regards to sound limitations. Although they were nice enough to put words in here that if we were really stupid, we might believe that we still had some authority in that area. In addition, they said that we may not adopt zoning regulations that disallow permanently or temporarily commercial wind energy facilities. So for instance, if this were in effect right now, the moratorium that we voted on earlier, that would have been illegal. We no longer have the authority, once this goes into effect, which will be very soon, we can't declare a moratorium with regards to wind energy or solar energy. Now I know we weren't considering it with regards to solar energy, but they took that away from us anyway, so you don't get to consider it now. Additionally, they have said that we cannot require standards for construction, decommissioning, or deconstruction of these facilities that is any more stringent than what the state already requires. So basically, with regards to deconstruction or decommissioning, our option is depend on the state of Illinois. And I saw a few of you shudder, and you probably should have, because we all remember the Pekin landfill. And with regard to the Pekin landfill, the requirements we were allowed to put in place for decommissioning were essentially exactly what the state allowed. And of course, the state came in and took it over and cleaned it up and made sure everything was taken. Wait a minute, no. That was the county that did that because the state did nothing. They didn't quite do nothing. They did have a press conference at one point, and there was a very nice assistant attorney general who met with me and came to court with me when I handled the case trying to get something done. We got a default judgment, and then unfortunately I went to Peoria County, and it got undone later with the attorney general, so wonderfully representing us. Anyway, getting back into what they're now requiring, we also cannot condition approval of a commercial wind energy facility on a property, say, to protect the United citizens or any citizens of Tazewell County from diminishment of their property values. Well, no, we can't do that. At least not directly through any kind of property value guarantee that we might try to put in place. So those are the major areas. There are obviously a lot of details. It's a fairly lengthy statute. There are a lot of details to it, but I just wanted you to understand exactly why it is that I am strenuously requesting all of you to join with me in this resolution condemning their action and removing so much of our authority. All of us are going to have the very unpleasant task of explaining to our constituents why it is that we can't do so many things they're going to be asking us to do. And there's a great reason why we can't do it. It's because we live in the state of Illinois.
All right. Any other comments or questions, Nick?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry I didn't ask this earlier, but the fire alarms were going off, and I don't think anybody would have got that. My question is, could we not still pass an ordinance that was proposed by United Citizens and have it on the books of Tazewell County, just in case this law becomes unconstitutional and it would fall back to our ordinance, which today is not appropriate, but if we go ahead and work on the United Citizens proposal or something similar that we can all agree to and have it on the books, wouldn't we be better off doing that?
Bill?
And as always, I love Mr. Graff's suggestion, this particular one and so many others you've given, but whether the General Assembly anticipated your particular suggestion or not, they specifically order us to pass If we have an existing ordinance that doesn't meet their requirements, they specifically order us to modify our ordinance to fit their requirements. So it's not just limiting our authority, it is actually a directive to us about what we're going to do once that bill goes into effect.
I guess that answers your question. All right, any other comments or questions? All those in favor of this signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Oh, somebody was really loud there.
I have the microphone on, I'm sorry.
So item 50, E2327, this came out of committee this evening. Can I get a motion for this? Motion by Graff, second by Longfellow. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Any unfinished business? We do have a couple of quick announcements. The bills were sent out. Hannah's been doing a great job of getting those things out to us in a timely manner. Thank you so much. The calendar's before us. Can I get a motion to approve the calendar? Motion by Rich Stimson, second by Joe Sting. Yeah, oh, Tammy, did you have a change? For... Let me check. 22nd would be, so, full board is on the 22nd, not the 25th. So, that's correct. So it's February 14th. So full board is the 22nd. All those in favor of the calendar signify by aye. Those opposed? Just three real quick announcements. Actually four. Illinois State's ahead of Bradley at halftime. Boom. Sorry. Let's see. Nicole Jones is in the back, our supervisor of assessments. She got a 1, which is the best you can do her first year of the job here. So, Nicole, thank you. Okay, February 25th, that's a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. We're going to have a building committee meeting. And I'm going to invite anybody who wants to come and speak from Pekin to speak about what they want. Hopefully we'll have a better line of sight from what Pekin's done. And then I'm going to ask for consensus from the board moving forward. And again, trying to get 22 of us to agree on one thing. It's going to be hard, but maybe I'll just present some options, then we'll move forward. Kim? 8 o'clock in the morning. Here, yes, February 25th. And then lastly, I just wanted to welcome the new board members, and I want to thank everyone for just the civil debate. I mean, there's some things in here that we're very passionate about and don't necessarily agree on, but we do live in a democracy. And you know what? If you make your case, great. If you don't, make a better chance. So we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.